Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us for USVI News. I'm Emily Matson. Positive cases of COVID-19 continue to decline all across the territory. According to the latest numbers from the VI Department of Health, there are now 95 active cases territory-wide, with 64 on St. Croix, 26 on St. Thomas, and 3 active cases on St. John. And as cases here continue to decline, Governor Albert Bryan Jr. announced changes to the Virgin Islands protocols, COVID protocols, effective this week. It is a sign we're returning to a version of normal life after 2 years of the pandemic. And the new protocols here come days after the CDC says most Americans no longer need to wear masks. The new CDC guidance recommends masks only in places where high hospitalization rates threaten to overwhelm hospitals. And that's not the case in about 70% of the nation right now. It is a sweeping change from the CDC, as the agency had previously used infection rates as a metric for masking. But as less deadly strains become more common, hospitalizations are now the key metric. But here in the VI, a lot of the mask mandates remain in effect. The governor says masks are still required at public places like salons, grocery stores, and restaurants, but you can take the masks off while sitting at your table at a restaurant or bar. Masks are not required outdoors. Some of the other protocol changes here include events with fewer than 999 people do not need approval from the VI Health Department, so there's no longer also a moratorium on evictions, and all government employees must return to in-person work on Tuesday.
We're taking a big step today. We're not sure if we'd have to withdraw a lot of these restrictions back again, that we'll have to put them back in place. But we feel confident at this point with the amount of people that have had vaccines, the amount of people that have had COVID, that we can find a way forward and really try to start to get back to normal.
Flags throughout the territory should be flown at half staff, as this week a Virgin Islands icon will be laid to rest. Adiodli will lie in repose this Wednesday. The public is invited to pay their last respects from 8 o'clock in the morning till 10 a.m. at the Legislative Hall in St. Thomas. A memorial will also be held this week to remember the beloved radio and television host and former senator and lieutenant governor. The legendary broadcaster and politician recently passed away at the age of 80. His countless contributions to the Virgin Islands will always be remembered. Governor Bryan explains how he'll be honored this week in the VI.
Friends, relatives, and Virgin Islanders of my cousin Adiodli, my condolences. This is essentially Adiodli week in the Virgin Islands. The VI flags are ordered to fly at half staff from today till Friday. He was an extraordinary human being, contributing here in the Virgin Islands as a senator, a lieutenant governor, and a long time just as an average citizen on the radio, helping being that voice from the storm. So tomorrow we will have a service at the University of Virgin Islands, Keene campus on St. Thomas at the gymnasium there. He will lie in state on Wednesday at the legislature. His body will then be moved to Government House, because he was a senator and a lieutenant governor, where he would lie in state, and then he would be buried or interred at the cemetery on that afternoon. Then on Thursday, we will be renaming the section of a street from where Pueblo is, across from the BMV in St. Thomas, right down to the Adiodli Drive.
President Biden is meeting with his national security team, and the United Nations is holding an emergency session to address the growing crisis in Ukraine. Unprecedented sanctions have already been imposed, and more are on the table. But so far, sanctions alone have not deterred Russian President Vladimir Putin. Alice Barr has the latest.
Today in the Ukraine crisis, destruction and diplomacy. Ukrainian officials pushing for a ceasefire in talks with a Russian delegation, though making little headway today. Here in Washington, President Biden speaking with top allies and his national security team. That after rolling out tougher sanctions against Russia's central bank, the latest in a global economic assault that sent the Russian economy reeling, its currency collapsing. Germany joining other Western nations sending weapons to help Ukraine. As Moscow is increasingly cut off from the rest of the world, concerns are growing over how President Vladimir Putin will react.
You don't want a madman backed into a corner with nothing to lose, especially if that madman has nuclear weapons.
Already, Putin has put his country's nuclear deterrent forces on high alert. President Biden refusing to respond in kind. The United Nations General Assembly holding its first emergency meeting in decades to condemn the Russian aggression and seek peace.
If Ukraine does not survive, we cannot be surprised if democracy fails next.
Civilian casualties are mounting, with reports of massive Russian shelling and Russian troops advancing toward the capital. Ukrainian forces defying expectations, holding their ground.
They have made it very difficult for the Russians to continue to move ahead.
Across the world, an outpouring of support. Americans gathering supplies for donations, pouring Russian vodka down the drain, standing and marching with the people of Ukraine.
With so much going on in Europe and here at home, it's easy for headline anxiety to creep up and make us feel stressed and overwhelmed. Here are some tips to help you reduce stress and worry less. Anxiety awakened with jarring headlines of war abroad and inflation here at home. You may be feeling more anxious and overwhelmed than usual.
Many people are stressed out. Many people are feeling anxious, and you are not alone. The less alone we feel, the less intense those emotions can feel.
Life coach and health expert Stephanie Mansour has these 3 tips to help you reduce that heightened anxiety and worry less. Number 1, use your senses and sniff your way to serenity.
You can either spritz your favorite perfume, or you can use cologne, you can light a candle, you can use essential oils, whatever you can smell that makes you feel relaxed and a little bit more at ease.
Number 2, when there's a lot going on that's outside of your control or too many thoughts in your mind, Mansour suggests you pause and sip on something warm like hot tea.
Now, why hot tea? Well, when something is hot, we have to slow down. We have to calm down in order to slowly drink the hot beverage.
And number 3, turn to your breath. Try this simple breathing technique that will help you release stress.
Breathe in for 4 counts, hold at the top for 4 counts, and slowly breathe out for another 4 counts. This is going to help your nervous system get more settled and feel more relaxed.
And remember, there are always going to be stressors and triggers around us. Instead of focusing on eliminating the source of the stress, Mansour says, focus on managing your emotions and mindset amidst the stress. The U.S. Army Reserve in Puerto Rico has said that they are sending 150 soldiers to Poland in an effort to join NATO operations. According to a statement, a group of soldiers is prepared to handle heavy military equipment. According to the commander of the U.S. Army Reserve in Puerto Rico, this trip to Poland was already planned and is not a result of the latest developments between Ukraine and Russia. More and more people are using mobile apps at home and at-home tests to monitor their own health. Reporter Michael George takes a look at the pros and cons of the do-it-yourself health movement.
Tom Dean has been diabetic for 16 years. He also hosts a Twitter community where diabetic patients share their experiences. For them, constantly keeping track of their blood sugar and insulin can be a matter of life and death.
When you have to start writing everything down for yourself, with everyone's busy schedules, it becomes unmanageable at a point.
But now, Tom has help. He's using multiple apps to do things like monitor his diet, order new prescriptions, and manage his blood sugar.
I've just gone on now onto Libra. It will tell me my level instantly, rather than finger pricking the old-fashioned way.
There are now thousands of health apps and at-home tests people are using to monitor their health, for everything from asthma to weight loss to sleep apnea. A Carnegie Mellon University study finds diabetes patients who use apps have better health outcomes, fewer hospital visits, and lower medical costs. Dr. Natasha Bouillon is Regional Medical Director for One Medical. She says with medical personnel strained treating COVID patients, these apps allow doctors and nurses to monitor their patients' health without an office visit.
I really love when patients are engaged in their health and they're empowered by seeing their own health information.
But there is a downside. Patients can be overwhelmed with all this information.
The information should really be, just interpreted in the context of a trusted primary care provider. For a lot of patients getting inundated with this information, they sometimes don't know what to do.
Tom's app automatically shares his blood sugar levels with his nurse.
I think it's amazing because it's doing everything kind of for you,
making managing his chronic illness just a little bit easier.
Some health apps have been criticized for collecting users' data, so experts say you should choose your app in consultation with your doctor.